Firstly, guys, if you haven't already, make sure to check out Webull. Right now, you can get 12 free stocks valued up to $32,000 by using my link in the description below. Webull is a commission-free online trading platform that allows you to invest in stocks, options, and crypto. So go ahead and check out Webull, guys. I'll put a link to them in the description below. Now, one thing I do want to mention here, guys, before I show you this, in order to have access to level 2 market data on Robinhood, you do need to have Robinhood Gold. Now, right now, you can actually get Robinhood Gold for free. Robinhood has a 30-day free trial on Robinhood Gold if you're interested in trying it out. After that, it's $5 a month for you to keep using Robinhood Gold, which has other things besides just level 2 market data. But I'm not going to get into that here in today's video. So firstly, where can we find the level 2 market data once you have Robinhood Gold? So the first thing you want to do here is you want to go over to a stock that you're interested in trading and that you're interested in looking at the level 2 market data for that stock. So maybe you have a stock in mind that maybe you want to scalp, maybe you want to day trade. Keep in mind, level 2 market data is often used when it comes to day trading or scalping, but it can be used by anybody, right? Even if you're not day trading or scalping, it can be definitely extremely useful to you. So let's say you found something like this stock right here, Nikola, NKLA is the ticker symbol. Let's say maybe you're looking to day trade this, you're looking to scalp, and you want to know more information about, where are people buying? Where are people selling? So what you want to do here is once you find that stock, you're going to go into this advanced section here. So let's go ahead and click on this advanced section. So here's what you're going to see. Okay, now let me actually remove this here because if if this is the first time you're using it, you're probably not going to see this here. So you may initially see something like this. So basically all you're seeing here is a chart for Robinhood that has may have some moving averages or whatever. So keep in mind, right, Robinhood has these charts where you can do some technical analysis on. They recently added some more things like moving averages. They added I think it was like VWAP, Bollinger Bands, right? They added a couple of more indicators here and stuff. Now I use TradingView personally, but this can be very useful because ultimately, guys, when you are going to use level 2 market data, you don't want to use it on its own to enter a trade, to get out of a trade, right? You still want to do some sort of technical analysis in parallel with using level 2 market data. Don't just use it completely alone. So it is kind of nice that this is in here, right? Maybe you'll look at the RSI, that can be very useful. You could look at the volume, right? The moving averages, things like that. You could switch this over to candlesticks, and actually maybe do some sort of technical analysis on here. But anyways, this is probably what you're going to see right away when you come in here. So again, what you want to do here then, notice here that there's a section that will say level 2 market data. So again, you're only going to see this if you have access to it. And again, you're only going to have access to it if you have Robinhood Gold. So what you want to do here is you want to click on add, and we're going to add the order book here. And we're also going to add the depth chart right here. Okay, so we can go ahead and add that right there. So again, it's going to look something like this now. So again, right, we have our chart here where you can do some technical analysis. You're going to want to do that. You don't just want to use level 2 market data alone. But now we also have our order book and again, our depth chart. So let's take a look here at the order book. Let's take a look at what we see and let me explain this to you guys here. So let's take a look. So the order book, how do we interpret this? So the red on top here, right? So notice that there's these red bars on the left, and these are above this middle section that says spread. So these are basically going to be sell orders, right? Sell orders that are pending. And so basically, if we take a look at one of these, for example, this one right here, right? This is telling me that there's 6,740 shares pending to get sold at a price of $3.66 or better, right? Keep in mind the current price is $3.61. Now down here, right, this information with the green bars here, these are going to be buy orders. These are going to be buy orders that again are pending at the current price, and we can see how what the size is. So for example, right here we have 7,748 shares pending to get bought at a price of 357 or better, right? So that's how you would interpret that. Now, in between these two, we have this middle section that says spread. So spread is basically going to be the price difference between the highest potential buy and the lowest potential sell in terms of price, right? So the lowest someone is willing to sell this for 361. The highest someone's willing to buy is 360. So the difference between 361, 360 is 0.01. That's our spread, right? That's what we see right there. Now, again, like I mentioned, right? So up here, we're basically seeing all the pending sell orders right now when it comes to Nikola stock. So we have 6,000 shares at 361, 17,000 shares at 362, so on and so forth. Down here, we see all the shares that, are pending being purchased, potentially at this price. So 7,000 at 360, 12,000 at 359, 21,000 at 358, so on and so forth. So, how can this be helpful to us? How can you use this again if you're potentially looking to scalp this stock, day trade it, things like that. So basically what you want to do here is you want to look for an unusual amount of shares here. That basically, there's a huge wall that could potentially provide a strong support or a strong resistance. So for example, let me explain. So notice here, right, we see 6,000 shares, 12,000, 17,000, 11,000, 5,000, right? Then all of a sudden we see 37,000 shares. Right, there's a lot of shares here that are, there's shares that are trying to get filled for 355. Furthermore, if we continue down, we have 4,000, 2,000, 7,000, right? Not that many. And then all of a sudden, look here, 25,000, 55,000 shares at 350. So by looking at this, right, you could look at this and say, okay, there might be a strong wall at 355. But if that breaks, now we could potentially see a very strong wall at 351 and 350. So this might be potentially an area where you might get interested in purchasing some shares. Now, again, you don't just want to buy the shares because you see a huge amount trying to get purchased at, these prices. But again, you could look at this and say, okay, maybe this is a good place to get in. Let's take a look at the chart. Right? What do we see when we chart and look at some technical analysis over here, right? That's how you would use this level 2 market data. So again, right, you look at this and you right away see, okay, there's a lot of shares here, and then down here there's a lot of shares, right? So maybe you could after you do your charting and you okay, I like what I see, you could potentially put a buy order here. Now let's say it breaks right through it and it continues going down. Right, you may want to close out right away and potentially try down here again, where there's a lot more shares, right? 25,000, 54,000 shares, potentially looking to get, filled right here. So again, this can be very useful, can really, show you, huge walls where there's a lot of shares, potentially trying to get filled, purchased, or it could also show you where there's a lot of shares looking to potentially get sold at. So for example, let's say we switch over to Riot, so ticker symbol RIOT. If we take a look at Riot, right, maybe you already entered Riot, and now you're okay, where should I close? Where might be a good place to, for a quick scalp or a quick day trade or something like that? Well, again, you could take a look here and say, okay, look, we have, 6,000, 4,000, 7,000, right? Then over here, we see, okay, there's 11,000 shares. So, there might be a strong wall there. And then if you continue going up, right, eventually you see, okay, 16,000 shares up here, 17,000 shares, right? So you notice that there's kind of an insignificant amount, right? 100 shares, 1,800 shares. And then all of a sudden you hit 17,000 shares up here. Right, that might create a strong wall. It might create, a lot of selling pressure that might, make the stock drop. So potentially you could look at this again, look at the chart, and if you like what you see, you could potentially say, okay, I might want to sell right before this. So maybe I'll sell right below it at 759, right? Just in case if it does make it to 760 and all these shares are sold, I sell before that, and I don't end up losing money if it, if the stock dips after that. Right, so that's basically how you can look at this, right? And if we go even higher, we may see, like, for example, here, 24,000 shares at 779, right? So, there's going to be a large wall there, right? There's quite a few shares that, are trying to get sold at 779. So if it gets to that, there's going to be all these shares getting sold. Again, when, shares get sold, it might cause the stock of the price to drop back down. So you may want to, potentially sell right before this at 778. Again, if you're looking to scalp, you're looking to day trade, that's how you can use this information here. So yeah, this is level 2 market data. And then of course you can use the depth chart as well to kind of, investigate where there's a lot of, unusual amounts of shares. So for example, down here, I see that at 695, there seems to be a lot of shares. So if I take a look over here, at 695, there's almost 70,000 shares looking to potentially get filled here, right? Get purchased. So, if I'm looking at this, I might potentially say, okay, let's take a look at the chart. Is this, a potential support level? Is there something going on here? Yes, I like what I see. I also see that there's going to be a lot of, there's a lot of shares right now looking to get filled there. So maybe I'll try and get filled a little bit above that at 696. Right, and once it hits here, it could could potentially again be a strong support wall, and it reverses the price upwards. Now, if you purchase here and it hits here and the price still continues to drop, it could also be an indication. Okay, there's a lot of strong selling. Maybe I just want to get out of it. Maybe I want to cut my losses, things like that, right? So again, this can be very useful here if you understand how to read this. It's not that hard to again read, and again, it's just available here right on the desktop app here for Robinhood. Again, in parallel with some charting here that you can do as well. So if you guys have any questions about anything I just talked about, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Check out the Discord, link to it in the description below. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys next time.